everyone, it's Bethany. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to share how I started my very first bullet journal and how I finally got myself to get started. So I'll admit that I found bullet journaling to be very intimidating, mostly because I just had some hesitancies of if I was going to be good at it or what it was or how I was going to even approach it. So I bought all of my materials and then they sat for a couple weeks because I was so intimidated to open the notebook and I was so intimidated to even put a pencil to paper. So I'm going to share my journey with you today and I hope that this inspires you to get started as well. So this is a little bullet journal that I'm working through. I'll be sure to link all of the materials in the description box below the video so you won't have any trouble finding anything that I use, just in case you are inspired by any of the materials that I'm working with today. So this came in a plain pink, but I of course added a little vinyl to the front, not only because I just have to add a little vinyl, but also because it just made it really fun, and I add this holographic vinyl to personalize the front of my bullet journal. So I'm going to walk you through my bullet journal and show you the pages that I've set up so far, and I hope that this helps you get inspired to start yours as well. I also want to share that I found this book called Dot Journaling, A Practical Guide, and I found this to be very helpful. To be honest, I wasn't able to get a chance to sit down and read this until after I set up my first few spreads, but that's okay because this is definitely going to help me when I'm setting up my next spreads for the months ahead. So I found this really helpful not only to help me understand some of the key terms that go along with bullet journaling, but it helps me understand the idea of bullet journaling even more, and it also helped to inspire me with some ideas. This was so good that I actually read it in one sitting, so I highly encourage you to pick this up. As you're watching this tutorial, you're probably going to find yourself thinking that bullet journaling takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of time to set up. And in a way, you're right. It does take a little bit of time, but I also think that it's time well spent and it's how we choose to use our time. So I actually spent many afternoons at the kitchen table. My kids were coloring beside me. I was able to open up my bullet journal and have all my little supplies surrounding me. I found myself putting pencil to paper and then erasing. I found myself using washi tape and bringing some color into my pages, which you guys will see in a minute. But I also really liked that it created some intentional time for myself. So it allowed me to really slow down. It allowed me to put laundry aside, put all my other tasks aside. And while I was with my kids, they were also able to see me get creative in my own way, which I really enjoyed. So while they were getting creative, I was also able to get creative, but it also helped me to focus on what my goals were, what my schedule was, and how I was going to get myself organized in this bullet journal. So the reason why I found bullet journaling is definitely a good fit for me is because I absolutely love planners. I find that they're very helpful. I love to write things down and I love crossing things off even more. I also find that I have a planner for my goals, and then I have a separate planner for our schedule, and then I have a separate area for all my lists. So the goal of my bullet journaling for me is to have a place that is one place for all of those things to be incorporated. So inside my bullet journal, like you'll see in a little bit, I have areas that I can focus on my schedule, areas that I can focus on my goals, and then other areas that will help keep me organized with my lists. It's also important to realize that bullet journaling is not for everybody, and that is completely okay. If this is something that's going to stress you out or not bring you joy, it's completely fine to skip it and find another system that works for you. For this tutorial, I really want to focus on how you can use your Cricut machine to bring some beauty to your bullet journal. As funny as it seems and as silly as an excuse it is, I found that I wasn't starting my bullet journal because I was so worried that my hand lettering wasn't going to be perfect. And while I'm still trying to find a hand lettering course that I really want to take because that's something that is becoming a passion of mine, I am just not there yet. And that brings me to my final and most freeing point, which is that bullet journaling is going to look differently for everyone. There is absolutely no right way or wrong way to do bullet journaling, and there are no rules. The best thing about this little journal is that it is yours. You can make it as messy as you'd like, or you can make it as pretty as you would like. You can use any colors that really inspire you. You can use as much washi tape or zero washi tape. The thing about bullet journaling is that it resembles you and how you want it to work for you. So I hope that that really helps you, because the idea that there are no rules to bullet journaling and no right or wrong way to do it was absolutely freeing to me, because it really helped me get started, because I knew that I can't really mess it up. However I want it to look is how I want it to look, and that's the right answer for me. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to walk you through the first few pages of my bullet journal and show you how I got started. I'm also going to show you how I'm going to use my Cricut machine to create some fun hand lettering. I hope you find this inspiring in some way, and if you've been wanting to start bullet journaling, I hope this helps give you the encouragement encouragement to get started. Also, if you have been bullet journaling, let me know. I'd love to hear more about your experience as well. And as always, please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming to my craft channel next. All right, let's get started. So what I'm going to do is walk you through my bullet journal. I'm going to do a quick little walkthrough, and at the very, very end, be sure to stick around because I'm going to share all of the beginner tools that I found really, really helpful for starting my very first bullet journal. Okay, so to open it up, I went ahead and left the first page blank because we're going to do that together. So we're going to bring that all together with a colored pencil and some adhesive vinyl. And I really love the idea that is going to be the very first page of my bullet journal, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So really, really quickly, I have a year at a glance, and this is just the entire calendar year that this bullet journal will be covering. And I'll share a little bit more of why I set it up this way and a little bit about the stickers in just a little bit. And then I have a gratitude page. I really want to focus on a little bit more gratitude this year. Of course, 2020 and 2021 have been a little bit hard for all of us. So I love the idea of focusing on the good, of keeping ourselves just grounded and positive, because I think that can make a world of difference when we are currently living through a pandemic. So I'll talk a little bit more about this page in a little bit. I also set up a big page of the books that I am going to read this year, and I'm going to fill them in as I go. My goal this year is 25 books, so I went ahead and made 25 lines, and then I did progress bars because I absolutely love a progress bar. It absolutely keeps me very motivated. And then, of course, these little blank areas are where I am going to be using my Cricut machine to add some really pretty headers. And then I have my April calendar. So those first pages were all the things I'm going to work on throughout the year. So I have my year, and then I have my gratitude that I want to focus on for the entire year. These are the books I want to complete this year, and then I'm breaking it down into months. So your month that you start in will be the first month that you will put here, but I am going to do April, and I have my little vinyl here ready to go, so we'll do that in a little bit. And so I just have my little April spread here. I will show you another idea that I'm going to use my Cricut machine for this page, so hang tight. And then on this one, I have a little habit tracker, and I'm excited to tell you about my idea for this as well. This is going to be my to-do list for the month of April. I also call it my nagging tasks because there are things that I really need to get done. So I love getting those all written down so that I know exactly where I need to focus during that month. Okay, so now that we have a little brief walkthrough, of course I'll go in more depth in a little bit, but let's head into Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to make some beautiful headers, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do some pretty art spread pages just to really bring some personality to my bullet journal. Okay, so here in Cricut Design Space, here are all of the little things that I did when setting up my bullet journal. And what I did is, first and foremost, I created a little template for the size of my paper. So this is the size of a piece of notebook paper that is in my bullet journal, so that I would know how to size the rest of the elements that I wanted to put on there. So I did that simply by going to Shapes, clicking on a square, and then I went ahead and put the exact dimensions of my paper with the width and height up in the measurement section to make this the exact length and width that I needed it to be. So once you have a template that's really nice, you'll refer to that on and on. So I kept that handy, and of course you can just keep it and hide it in your little bullet journaling area so that it's always ready for you. Then I used two different fonts that I'm going to use throughout my entire bullet journal, and I wanted to kind of focus on just doing two just to help with consistency. So I'll link the fonts in the description box below because I purchased them in a bundle, but the fonts were Falling Leaves Script and Falling Leaves Print, which I really, really liked. Okay, so I went ahead and made some little quotes that I wanted to use, and then I also made some headers, and we are going to go into depth on more of these in just a moment. I went ahead and cut all of these out for you beforehand just to save some time, but we're going to go ahead and cut out the goals word together, and I will show you how easy it is. We're also going to cut out some little strips of paper because I'm going to use this to embellish my April calendar, and you guys are going to love that. If you're new to Cricut Design Space, you can design all of these simply by going to the text box, and you can create any type of title or word art that you would like right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get cutting out the word goals and these cute little squares, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with them. You can use any cutting machine. I'm personally going to use my Cricut Joy, but any cutting machine will work well for this project. So because I'm cutting out just 2 of the elements, I'm going to go ahead and say make it on Cricut Design Space. Then I'm going to tell it I'm going to go on the mat because I am going to place some materials on a mat that are not Joy materials. I'll go ahead and select done, and then it'll show that my goals is on one mat and then my little squares are on another, which is very ideal because I will be cutting this out of adhesive vinyl and then I'll cut my squares out of paper. I'll go ahead and say continue, and then it's going to locate my Joy and I can make my material selections from there. Then I'll go ahead and just use the setting premium vinyl for my vinyl, and I'll come back in and just choose a cardstock setting for my paper. Alright, let's go ahead and cut these out, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to make your own little headers with the Cricut. Okay, so I have my little piece of adhesive vinyl that I'm going to use, so I'm going to go ahead and place that right on my mat, and then I'll go ahead and feed it into the Joy. Now the Joy will auto load, and then it will make sure that the mat is aligned, and then once everything has been confirmed, it will allow you to press go on your device. So now it's cutting out my little design. I have my weeding tool all ready because then the next step will be weeding out my little title. It's all done, so I'll go ahead and say unload on my device, and then it will unload my mat. Okay, so now what I can do is I can trim off any extra vinyl that I have left over, and I can save that for another project or another page that I'm working on. And then what I can do is take my weeding tool and I can weed out the surrounding area and leave my words right on my sheet here. Okay, then I'll go through and just grab the middles of my letters, 1 and 2, and there is how quick and easy it is to create some word art with the Cricut machine. So I'll show you how we get this into our journal in just a little bit, but let's cut out the paper as well. So I have my mat again, and then I have a couple pieces of paper that I want to use. So I'm going to place the paper right on my mat, and then I edited my mat in Cricut Design Space so that some of my squares were up here and some were down here, and that allows me to cut 2 different materials at the same time, or 2 different prints at the same time. So now it's cutting out the little squares on these little pieces of cardstock. And we're all ready to go. So for removing cardstock, I just like to take away my surrounding pieces right off of the mat. And then what I like to do, that one came off with it. What I like to do is I just like to help my mat self-weed itself. Then I just like to bend my mat a little bit, and then I can just pull off those little remaining pieces and place them aside to put in my bullet journal. So the intention of my first page is basically describing who I am, and pretty much is describing what's important to me and what makes up me. So what I'm going to do is I have a little vinyl piece that I made in Cricut Design Space, and this is one of the designs that I showed you when we were working in that portion of the video. So before I do anything, I have a little white vinyl design, which of course I'm not going to place on white paper because then it would camouflage into it and we wouldn't see it much. So I'm going to go ahead and just get a rough size of my design, and then I'm going to go ahead and just with a light little brush of my colored pencil, I'm going to go ahead and just place a little bit of marks on my page. Okay, now that I know exactly how big my design is, I can go through and just color. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and bring a little pink onto my paper with this colored pencil. And I have actually found bullet journaling to be super, super relaxing. You're actually getting some hearts coming through. They're kind of embossing from the page behind it, but that's kind of fun, so that'll work. So one of the things about bullet journaling is that it seems like it's a lot of work, and my husband kept walking past me as I was working on my bullet journal, and quite honestly the setup took me a couple days. It took me a couple days to really decide what I wanted to do, and it took me a couple of days to really decide what layouts I wanted and what themes on each page or what things really were important to me. But one thing I want to remind you, and what I was reminding my husband, was that some of the setups were for the entire year. So of course that took me a little bit longer, but then some of the other setups were only going to be done once a month. So those were going to be fairly quickly. Okay, so I totally switched gears from the white, and I'm going to use this really pretty gold because the best mailman in the world just delivered it today, and I have been wanting to try this gold. So this is the Cricut Joy Smart Vinyl, and it's just the metallic champagne color, and it's so pretty. And since I'm going to be looking at this bullet journal for the rest of the year, I really want to go with my original idea of having it gold on the front. Okay, so I am going to now get some transfer tape. Now, when you are working with a base that is paper or a base that is delicate, I would definitely recommend using this masking paper transfer tape because it's very light grip and it's very gentle. So if you use a strong grip transfer tape to transfer your vinyl onto paper, what can happen is it will rip your paper and it will just rip it right up. But if you use something nice and light like this paper masking paper transfer tape, then it is light enough that it will be delicate with your paper and it will transfer really well without harming your base. So now I'm going to go ahead, place that transfer tape right over my smart vinyl, and then I'm going to grab some scissors and trim off my extra. Okay, once my transfer tape has been trimmed to size, I can take my scraper squeegee tool and I'm just going to burnish down on my transfer tape and vinyl. And what that does is it brings together the vinyl and the transfer tape so that I can quickly and easily peel it off of the carrier sheet that it was cut on. So I just take my time and really burnish that down, and then I turn it over and I do the same to the back. So give it a really good press on the front and the back. And then with it face down, you can pull back the carrier sheet and leave your vinyl on the transfer tape. So it might take a little bit of nudging, especially with the Cricut Joy vinyl, because I find that it's a little bit thicker than regular vinyl, and I also feel like the carrier sheet that it's cut on is really thick, so it can just make it to be a little tricky. But I'll show you with the other vinyl in a little bit how easy this can be. Okay, so now I have it all on my transfer tape, and then what I can do is simply place it on my paper where I'd like it and transfer it over to my bullet journal page, which makes really quick and easy work out of hand lettering. Okay, so then I can just rub it down with my fingers. I can actually use just a light scrape to press that down as well. Okay, then I will go ahead, ooh, that's so pretty, and peel away my transfer tape, leaving my design and my vinyl right on my paper. How pretty is this? Oh my gosh, that is so cute. I love how that turned out. So this says, simply a kingdom girl who wakes each day to chase after God and her tiny ones. So this is just very descriptive of me, and especially in the season that I'm in right now. So I love that. I love that that's the first page. I love that that is my why and who I am. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the second page. So again, this is the whole year at a glance, and I went ahead and made, even though I am starting in April, I went ahead and made the first 3 months as well, because what I like to do with my yearly spreads is I like to use them when I am creating content for my YouTube channel. So I went ahead and used my Cricut as well to make out little tiny hearts, because I like to place hearts over the days that I have content already scheduled for. So as you can see, I like to post on Sundays and Wednesdays currently. That may switch in the future, but right now I really like to do that. And so what I do is, once I have a video ready and put into YouTube, I just place a heart on there so that I can visually quickly come to this page, and then I can know that those days are accounted for and ready to go. So again, in the back there is a little tiny envelope or sleeve, and I just place all of my little stickers that I created for that little spread in there to keep. That way everything is all together. So what I need to do right here is, again, I'm super intimidating intimidated by hand lettering. So I went ahead and used vinyl to create my little 2021. So I went ahead and used a nice gray color, and I cut that out on my Cricut Joy, and now I can apply them to my pages. Okay, so then I can just peel away my carrier sheet, leaving my design on the transfer tape, just like that. And then I can just hover over my page. Again, I'm using that masking paper transfer tape so that it's nice and gentle. And I'll hover over my page where I'd like to place my little design. That looks good to me. And then rub down with fingers. Again, you can do a light scrape with your little squeegee tool if you'd like. And then peel away that transfer tape. And you have quickly and easily done some really pretty hand lettering without worrying about if your hand lettering is really, really good or still needs improvement. And then still using that masking transfer tape, I can just hover over my page, center my title where I would like it, and then rub down with finger. You can do it again with a scraper tool if you'd like. And this makes really quick and easy work out of creating really fun and pretty titles for your bullet journal. So there is that spread. I really like how that turned out. That's really pretty. Okay, so the next spread that I made again is my gratitude spread. And again, I really just want to focus on the good. It's really easy right now to focus on all of the worry that's going on with living through a pandemic. And so I just really wanted this page to be a reminder that there's still so much good happening and to focus on that. So I added a few. So we finally had a snow day, little things like reading in a warm blanket. One of the things about gratitude is the more that you practice gratitude, the more you see gratitude, which is basically what this little quote says. So I really like the idea of focusing even on the smallest of things that I'm grateful for. So one of mine is even a hot bowl of soup during nap time. So grateful that day just to have a little bit of quiet and a nice bowl of soup. And it's just one of those little things that can bring a lot of joy. One of my favorite things about doing a bullet journal as I was getting mine all laid out was being sure to add little fun quotes or things that are going to motivate and make you better. So I really liked this little quote from Mary Davis about gratitude. So it's really pretty and it's really motivational, and it says, "The more grateful I am, the more beauty I see." And I really like that because I think that gratitude is something that needs to be practiced. So the more you practice gratitude, I feel like the more joyful you are and the more you're able to see how good things really are around you. Okay, so the next spread again is going to be my book goals. So I love to read. Before I had kids, I actually read 100 books a year. And it's just one of those things that makes me be intentional about putting time for myself and makes me slow down. So I really love the idea of doing a reading challenge. If you have a love of reading like I do and you like to challenge yourself with book goals, then I encourage you to download the Goodreads app. It's a really good way to also track what you're reading. And if you read a ton like I do, it's a really good way to also make sure you don't reread any books, because has anyone gotten to chapter 3 of a book and realized I've totally read this book and then you've had to put it down? Because I hope I'm not the only one, but I have done that a couple times and it's so frustrating. I guess I've read so much that I forget what I have read. So I like to keep track in an app. That way I can go through and make sure that, no, I did not indeed read this book and I can continue reading it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this placed on there. Let me know if you have any favorite books this year or in the past that you have read. I love hearing about favorite books and I love getting recommendations. Okay, so I am all set for this page. Now I have a couple little elements that I'm bringing together for this page. So I have a little arrow that I want to put on here. And then I have obviously the reading challenge title. So I'm going to put the arrow down and then I'll go ahead and get this where I would like it. Just like so. Perfect. Okay, little swipe to get that on there. If you are a fan of progress bars like me, then I'll share some tools that I found really helpful when creating my bullet journal, because I find progress bars to be really motivating, and I love coloring how far I am into my goal. That way it gives me some motivation to keep going so I can complete the bar. Okay, so then the next page is, of course, my monthly spread. And this is also where I'm going to be placing the little pieces of paper. So let me get the little month all placed on my paper here. Okay, looks good. A little swipe and pull off my transfer tape. Okay, now for this page, what I wanted to do was I wanted to just place little pieces of paper just to bring some color to this page, some more color, I guess. And I wanted to put little pieces of square prints or just color among the calendar just to bring it a little bit of personality and fun. I love the idea of just using pops of color any and everywhere that I can just to bring a little fun. I'm just using a little glue stick. I'm waiting for my double-sided tape to come in, so that's why I chose this adhesive, but you can use any adhesive that you'd like. Okay, and then maybe I'll place another one right here. Okay, so I love how that turned out. Now I will go through with my little pen and add the dates to my April calendar. Okay, so I am just adding the little dates to my calendar now that I have my little squares put on the little calendar area. So I love how that turned out. That's really, really cute. Okay, and then I just did a little embellishment on the side with washi tape. Washi tape can be really, really fun to decorate with when bullet journaling. So this page again is going to be my habit tracker. So I'm trying to focus on the fruits of the Spirit. So if you are unsure about all of the things that make up the fruits of the Spirit, I encourage you to check out Galatians 5:22 and 23, and they go through all of the fruits of the Spirit. So I'm focusing this month on one of the fruits of the Spirit, which is patience, and then I hope to, throughout the rest of the year, focus on a different fruit of the Spirit just to help bring some good habits into my life. So I, this month, am focusing on patience. That means patience with myself, patience with motherhood, patience with the pandemic, patience with being a creator, all of the above, just patience with all of the things. So this is a fun little idea for creating a new habit. You can also have your habit tracker be anything that you wish. So if you wanted to create a habit for drinking more water, anything that you can think of, then what you do is you just create a little area with the number of days in the month. So I have 30 little hexagons here, and then I also made a little key. So what will happen is for each day that I am patient, I will color one pink, and then for the days that I did not quite reach that goal, then I will color it a teal color. So again, you can create your little habit tracker to be anything you'd like, but I really like the idea of focusing on, I lost my little G somewhere, but I'll find it. Focusing on the fruits of the Spirit just help encourage me. Okay, so now let me find my little G. I just looked all over my entire craft room for this G, and it was on my pinky finger. Okay, you have to laugh at yourself. Okay, so I have my Galatians, so it's not Alations. Okay, so now my last page is going to spread out all of my goals. So you can just list anything big or small. You can omit this page if you don't want to do goals for your monthly spread, but I love goals. I'm that type of person that if I write something down, it will get done. So it can kind of be a little bit dangerous for me too, because if I get a little too ambitious, then it kind of puts a little pressure on myself. So I have to kind of learn how much I can personally handle. So that is one of the ways that I sometimes need to improve upon myself. But I really do like goal trackers because, again, I think that it just helps you focus on what you really need to get done. And if it's written down, then I usually am a go-getter about it. Okay, so I'm going to put my goals this way. Again, I did a little sidebar, a little progress bar, because I love a progress bar so much. It's just so encouraging. So I'll go ahead and put that just like that. And then what I think I'll do is, I was waiting to see how much space I had left over, and I think I will add some washi tape to this side as well. Maybe bring some pink in and bring some green. Yeah, I think I'll do this little green. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add some washi tape. It's been one of my favorite elements to use when doing bullet journaling. Okay, so that was our last page spread. So now what I will do is I'm going to finish this last page, and then I'm going to show you a variety of beginner tools that I really found helpful when starting my bullet journal, because I went on a bit of a little shopping spree to start out, and I'm going to make these a little off. Yeah, I like that. I was going to say I'm not going to line them up. I'm going to try to do a little off center. So I found some really fun little tools and things that really helped me get my bullet journal started. Okay, so let me show you all of the little things that I found. Okay, so it kind of seems like a full desk, because honestly it is, and I had quite a bit of fun shopping for getting started with my bullet journal, and to be honest, the mailman still hasn't brought in everything that I purchased, so it's gonna get a little bit crazier, but I had a lot of fun doing this. And as I was getting ready to start my bullet journal, I just thought of some things that I have been seeing either on Pinterest or Instagram, and things that were going to help me get started with bullet journaling. So washi tape was one of those things, and it's again a really easy way to bring color and print to your pages. I really had fun with that, and I got a lot of my washi tape at Michael's. Then I found this little spinner on Amazon. I'll link it. I have again some more pens coming, so I'll fill those little slots, but I found this and it was a really nice way to organize all of the little pens and all of the different types that I plan to use. I haven't used any of these yet in my current spreads, but I hope to use them in the months ahead. So I'll let you know how I like some of these as I start bringing them into my spreads in my bullet journal. One thing I did buy was this watercolor brush and fine tip collection. I found this on Amazon. So what this is it is, let me find like a pink or something. So one tip is a fine tip, and then the other tip is a watercolor brush. So one thing I want to mention about this is I thought it was going to be a little bit more pastel, and the colors are a tad vibrant for my taste. However, I really am excited about the fine tip on all of these. So I have a big variety of the fine tips. So I purchased them actually for the watercolor tip, but then ended up falling in love with the fine tip part. So I will say again, the colors were a little bit more vibrant than I thought they were going to be, but I'm finding the fine tip to be really helpful with the bullet journaling. Okay. Another thing that I found was I bought a little kit that has a protractor, and it has a ruler, it has a little mechanical pencil, it has another little eraser in it, and this was a game changer. I used this the most when starting out my bullet journal. I did everything in pencil, and then I went back through and did everything with this fine tip, again from this collection, fine tip black marker, and I really thought it was so nice because I could erase, I could change my mind before I made it more permanent and committed with a marker. Okay, so I definitely recommend some kind of small ruler set and a mechanical pencil or some type of pencil. I did use these really cute highlighters in my spreads this time, and I really liked them because they were very pastel. So if you love pastels and lighter colors and tones like I do, definitely recommend these. Again, everything will be linked in the description box below. And then the last game changer that I really had fun with was getting these little stencils. These were fun little stencils that I found on Amazon, and they were really helpful when trying to either get inspiration for my layouts or to help me start penciling in little grids for my layouts. So I loved them. This is that one honeycomb one that I did, and I really liked that. I think this is going to probably be a monthly spread that I'll repeat every month because I love the idea of trying to create a new habit every month. I just find that really encouraging. So I really recommend a stencil. I thought they were really fun and they offered a lot of inspiration. So I hope you found this inspirational, or you were encouraged to start a bullet journal if you have not started one yet. I will definitely tell you that I was really intimidated to start it, but once I started, I found it really, really relaxing. Again, my husband would walk by every once in a while and say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're still working on that. That must be so stressful," but it was so relaxing. It taught me to really slow down, to focus, and have some quiet time, and I really, really have been enjoying it so far. So let me know if you enjoyed this. I hope to share another monthly spread as I keep working on this, but I'm really excited to start bringing this into my daily routine. All right, everyone, be sure to let me know if you've tried this before and what kind of spreads inspire you, or if you're going to give it a try now. All right, have a great day.